We had to eat on the fly. We didn't have no lunch breaks when you're on the belts. You know, the belts are running continuously. So you get a break, you grab a sandwich and eat. And we never sat down for lunch.
Section C. My brother-in-law is in Section L, and my mother and dad are up in Section P, and my uncles are up in Section O.
Minnesota veteran Peter Buey has spent 1 day a week over the last 12 years at Fort Snelling National Cemetery. He's part of the rifle squad that pays tributes to the thousands of veterans, including many of his family members who are buried here.
All the World War II vets are passing on.
Lately, his squad has been honoring more and more World War II vets, a generation that's disappearing.
But I feel bad about it. I feel sad because I lose a lot of friends. A lot of my friends are passing on. And I just lost a couple of them here last week.
They make up almost half of the 4,000 veterans buried here last year.
Fort Snelling National Cemetery is the 4th busiest, the 7th largest, and one of the most beautiful national cemeteries in the administration. That's out of 117 national cemeteries.
Cemetery Director Robert McCullum coordinates the rising number of burials.
We had a day a couple of weeks ago, we had 32 in one day.
The average is 17 a day, with one procession after the other, and flags flying at half-staff, filling a cemetery that already has 142,000 grave sites.
You look at the back of a stone and that identifies the section you're in and the grave number.
And soon the cemetery will be expanding to accommodate the growing loss of the courageous and dedicated veterans who selflessly served their country.
What you're seeing when you look out here, you're seeing our nation's heroes. That's what you're seeing. This is our nation's heroes. Because of them, we have the great life and the freedom we have today. Okay?
Been trying to accomplish.
Why did he decide to do it?
I think there were a lot of reasons. I think a significant factor for him was the family, concerns regarding his family and their feelings. I know he's had family members who've been encouraging him to help them, I guess, get closure, to come forward and discuss what really did happen.
Yeah, most folks do not need to worry about listeria.
That's the most important thing. Acting State Epidemiologist Rich Dinella says listeria is everywhere, on most fruits and vegetables, meats, dairy products, and most people are not affected by it. But in the case of some hot dogs from the Bronx, people in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Georgia got sick. Now, 7 people in Minnesota and Wisconsin have grown ill from the same strain of listeria. 1 died.
They're getting many, many calls in Rochester of people that are concerned. And I guess I'd emphasize again that for most people, this is not a problem. It's for the small proportion of people who are immunocompromised or pregnant or have underlying conditions. There may be a slight risk to them.
Rich Dunella says listeria and most foodborne germs are killed by proper cooking and proper food handling, washing hands, cleaning utensils after handling raw meat and before using them on cooked food, for example, will prevent germs from being spread. But because the same strain of listeria contaminated food in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the East Coast, food detectives will continue to look for the contamination connection.
Work here in our community. They're the kinds of jobs or people in Minneapolis, St. Paul, who have had to leave can come back and work in this technology village and perhaps work with United Healthcare. The 135 jobs will take 22,000 square feet in this building. They will pay up to $80,000 a year. Whether or not they have that publicity, we'd have to get permission from them to do that.
I'll be done by Christmas. Up to the alley level. Actually, the building will connect to the parking ramp on the 3rd floor. It's right up the top of these stairs, and that's
Those 135 jobs are the kinds of jobs that we said would come to this technology village. They're good jobs, they're the kind of jobs that our young people graduating from colleges and universities can come to Duluth or stay in Duluth when they're done and be able to work here in our community.
they're in and operating.
Watch your step.
Katie Poyer will not soon be forgotten. The bright, fun-loving teenager was kidnapped and murdered from the Moose Lake convenience store where she worked. While her killer has yet to be brought to justice, her death has highlighted some serious flaws in Minnesota's criminal justice system.
With all of the public awareness and all the people who really want to prevent this kind of stuff, I think that in this instance we'll move forward.
In the wake of Katie's death, a Senate task force was pulled together to investigate ways to keep others safer. During discussions, some glaring problems have come to light. One of the biggest is a repeated failure to catalog the identifying fingerprints and criminal histories of felons throughout the state.
We think it's probably 30% missing fingerprint records and maybe another percent, 5-7%, where it's a mismatch on the numbering scheme.
That means literally hundreds of thousands of people committing felonies in Minnesota never get their crimes entered into a central database.
If we don't know who they are and they know not to tell you who they are, we're going to treat them like a first-time offender every time.
In Katie's case, Donald Blom's past criminal history was accessible. But the past records of an estimated 400,000 other criminals, including serious sex offenders over the past 10 years, would not be found should they commit another crime.
There's hundreds of thousands of felony gross misdemeanor dispositions that are not on file.
And that's not all. Many of these potentially dangerous criminals can't even be found. Without their prints in a central databank, their addresses are also lost. And if they move from one jurisdiction to another, they're often lost from surveillance. And that includes registered sex offenders.
Not knowing where some percentage, large percentage of these sex offenders are, seriously hurts an investigation.
And completely defeats the purpose of sex offender registration. But it doesn't have to be this way. If more law enforcement agencies had access to one of these, an electronic live scan machine, fingerprints and other critical information would be automatically entered into regional and national databanks.
You have better data for criminal records in the courts and that, so we have good, accurate data there. Plus, we are building a database for investigations.
There are 2 live scan devices in St. Louis County, but many of the smaller police departments don't have access to such a machine. In fact, there are only 67 of them statewide. And at a cost of $60,000 apiece, many of the smaller jurisdictions just can't afford them. The Senate task force that came together after Katie's murder is trying to help. They're looking for ways to fund more fingerprint scanners in police departments across the state. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
And to recover some revenues for participating in NCAA postseason events. The findings compel the disturbing conclusion. Between 1993 and 1998, there was systematic, widespread academic misconduct in the men's basketball program. In addition, there were cash payments to student athletes, and there was an effort to interfere with the investigation by Coach Haskins. The report also makes clear that in addition to the individual violations involving cheating and money paid to student athletes, the NCAA will find that we violated its standards for institutional control. Athletic and central administrators failed to adequately manage the basketball program. It became an isolated fiefdom, allowed to operate virtually unchecked. And to recover some revenues for participating in NCAA.
When I look back on it, I look at ways that could have been prevented. The only one I could think of would be to not believe people when they tell you something, not to believe it's the truth, to be more skeptical, to be disbelieving. That's not my personality. And for that reason, perhaps there is a better choice in this position for the president.
Lursman, a 71% free throw shooter with a chance.
Well, for more than 100 years. find an outfit like that from a mother-in-law before the season began, but no such luck. Oh wait, there you can see our gratuitously large. We're going to take a little break here, but when we come back, we'll have more of the Christmas City of the North Parade.
Spirits bright, and your stockings say your prayers 'cause Santa Claus comes to night. Yeah. How about a big hand for all today and not riding a train? In spirits bright, what fun it is tonight. Come Santa. Let's practice us. Jingle. Oh, that's good.
We are not in the same boat, guys.
According to the real experts, nor are we in the same boat, car, or on the same planet. It's important to point out here, Y2K the movie is a product of the network's entertainment division.
To clear up any confusion, NBC faxed us a statement for viewers. It reads, "This program is a purely fictional thriller. This program does not suggest or imply that any of these events could actually happen." Thank goodness.
Any numbers we can go on the air with?
What the hell happened?
They're saying the doors just swung open.
The movie does portray some frightening scenarios, but remember, it is only a movie. Security experts at Northland jails and prisons say escapes like this one just couldn't happen. All of their locked doors are designed to be fail-safe. As the movie progressed, we saw a nation plunged into chaos because of computer failure. Its plot included food and medicine shortages, near-nuclear meltdown, and a massive electric blackout. Experts say the odds of any of that happening for real are slim to none. Government and industry have worked hard to prevent such problems.
After spending millions of dollars and tens of thousands of staff hours on the project, Minnesota Power announced that those systems essential to produce and deliver electricity are ready for the rollover to the year 2000.
Deciding which party to attend may be our biggest dilemma this New Year's Eve, but just in case, public safety and Northland law enforcement agencies will be on alert. Detailed contingency plans will also be in place in the unlikely event of power, telephone, or water outages.
Prepare like you're preparing for a winter storm. That means having extra food, water, maybe a little extra cash on hand, some extra blankets and flashlights, and essential medications. And you want to have those supplies last you for about 3 to 7 days.
The Red Cross offers this free pamphlet. It has several common sense tips to prepare for Y2K. St. Louis County is also sending out tips to residents in its fall newsletter.
My favorite Y2K tip, try not to use the telephone January 1 just to see if it's working. Now, if we all did that, we could overload circuits, causing a serious telecommunications problem.
The bottom line, a little preparedness and a lot of common sense will go a long way in keeping all of us Y2K compliant. Michelle Lee, News 6.
We've been able to make snow 2 days total here in the last 3 days, Friday night being the latest, and one before that was 3 weeks ago. So that's all that we've been able to accomplish now.
the popular.
Walk just about anywhere inside the Two Harbors High School and you'll notice what 62 years of wear and tear can do. The door outside Mrs. Loden's math class and the north wall inside are examples of water damage, damage evident in this corroded pipe. Inside the girls' locker room, water drips incessantly. Peeling paint hangs from the walls, which are covered in mildew.
The band room is a clear example of how old this high school is. In fact, anytime there's a physically handicapped student, the entire band room has to pick up and go somewhere else because the only access to the band room is through a tunnel filled with stairs.
Principal Bob Nyberg graduated from Two Harbors High in 1967.
It hasn't changed much since then.
Nyberg is a big proponent of the referendum and a new school.
The building, was constructed, at its time it was, a good building, but it wasn't made, for a school of, entering the year 2000, the new millennium. And, the piping has been the same, the electrical has been the same.
But a new building will mean property taxes in the school district also won't be the same. There's a sizable price tag for the new school, $28 million, paid for in a $34 million referendum. Passing the plan would cost a homeowner with a $50,000 home about $207 a year for 20 years in extra taxes. And opponents say that's too much money, especially since enrollment has declined. Still, the principal says the money will be well spent.
We strongly feel that we lose some of our students to some of the Duluth schools in the North Shore area. And I think that with the new school, we'll be able to keep those students in our district and also draw new students coming in.
Land has been purchased for a new building. If voters okay the referendum, construction could begin in the spring.
and the only relics from the past at the new high school would likely be behind glass. In Two Harbors, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
If you've always wanted to learn how to use a computer or just plain don't want to buy your own machine, there's a place in Hermantown that can help you out. Hermantown High School has just opened a community computer lab. Though the lab's only been open for a day, it's already become quite popular.
I think it's great because then people without a computer can come and do homework or just research stuff on the internet. Or it's a great resource, and it's open to so many people then.
The lab is coordinated by Robert Rosenberger, a network support student at Lake Superior College. He says a wide variety of computer users and students stopped by during the lab's opening day, including Norman and Claudia Johnson of Hermantown.
Well, computers seems to be the rage right now, and we're trying to keep up with our grandkids.
We've decided we got to join the year 2000 that's coming up and not get lost in the shuffle.
Lab coordinator Rosenberger says the Community Computer Center will only continue to grow in the future. More computers and software, plus a printer and scanner, are already on the way.
Hopefully I can fill this room up and we'll move to a bigger lab.
In Hermantown, Dave Anderson, News 6.
Driving through the Superior National Forest, you'll see some of the most spectacularly wild forest land in Minnesota. The wilderness is Ron Brodigan's home of 3 decades, but there's always been one thing missing: reliable landline phone service.
Usually this is what happens for several times. I get an error notice.
Internet access is the lifeblood of Ron's businesses. When he can't get to his website, it can cost him thousands of dollars. That's just one reason why Ron and about 60 others entered into a David versus Goliath war with GTE Contel, the company responsible for phone service in their area. They've been radio phone customers for many years, but with the internet becoming such a powerful household tool, they wanted something more reliable than a transmitter swaying in the wind. And what about emergencies? In some storms, there's no signal coming in or going out. Charlie Mosher had a medical emergency in this house, but the call to paramedics took nearly a half hour to connect. Some say his life might have been saved if there was a properly working phone system.
What happened in Charlie Mosher's case isn't necessarily rare for people living in this area. In fact, many times people will go to the phone in an emergency, they're in a hurry, they dial quickly, and this is what they hear.
We're sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and try your call again.
Earlier this year, a major victory. The State Public Utilities Commission ordered GTE Contel to run regular phone lines to the remote homeowners. Plus, the commission ordered the company to lower their rates. That was last summer.
And that should have been done the 1st of August, and here it is 4 months later, and instead of dropping them, they've increased them.
Today, the phone lines themselves aren't much closer to reality. The phone company just filed the necessary paperwork a month ago, and time is almost up for this year. No lines are buried once the ground freezes. Lake County Sheriff Steve Peterson has joined in the fight. He's concerned about safety.
Obviously, if they don't have phones, we can't have a 911 system. But now this area here, with the Public Utilities Commission, ordering that they put the phones in, we could have the 911 service available to them.
In Stony River Township, they're still waiting for the day their victory will actually pay off in better safety and lower bills. GTE has run lines to some of the petitioners in areas where there were above-ground power lines. A lengthy environmental impact study is now the only thing holding Ron Brodigan and his neighbors from seeing their longtime wish come true.
Great Lakes, Snowshoe Country.
Near Isabella, Jason Rice, News 6.
TV folks here for that program.
No, it's not about money. It's not. I don't want to profit off of Donald. I don't want anything to do with that guy, in fact. You know, if he shriveled up and blew away tomorrow, I wouldn't care.
All this guy's doing trying to make a buck.
With the holiday shopping season in full swing, money is what's on the minds of many Minnesotans. And when it comes to the state's finances, with the promise of another sizable budget surplus, many folks have ideas for a wish list.
Improving our schools, reducing class sizes. I think that's a real tremendous need. Getting more teachers into the schools so we can have more special programs for kids.
Highways need it. There's a lot of ways to spend it.
But it would be nice not to have to pay so much taxes.
I guess if I was going to pick something I could spend the money on, I'd put it towards the DNR, natural resources, stuff like that.
I'd like to see another rebate.
Many people liked how state leaders dealt with the last surplus.
The checks are in the mail.
And Governor Ventura is hinting at another tax rebate.
If the economy is so good that you bring in more than what you've legislated for or budgeted for, you give the money back.
But more and more taxpayers say they'd go without some extra spending money to benefit the entire state.
It was nice to have money I didn't have, so. But, you know, there are other things you could put it to, too.
Better education and improved highways were the most popular suggestions.
I'd like to see them hang on to the money. I'm retired, and it'd be nice for me to get it back, but I'd rather have the state hang on to it and use it when they need it.
In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
A lot of people are very attached to the old school and believe that it's built solid as a rock and needs many, many repairs because it's been neglected for many years, but that it's absolutely repairable.
Shoulders down, lift up and back. Keep that arm rounded. Good, and tendu. 2 seconds.
They look up to Suzanne, these little girls. They dream of wearing pink tutus and being the sugar plum fairy like Suzanne. They see themselves floating across the stage in the arms of a handsome prince. And because of their dreams, they work harder.
Have you been thinking about pointing your feet a lot lately? Yeah, they're good. That's good.
Suzanne Kritzberg says teaching keeps her grounded, and the hero worship of these little ballerinas is her inspiration.
I love the fact that I can be a role model for them and that, you know, maybe someday they want to grow up and be what I am.
Don't overcross the leg.
Over the years, Suzanne has danced all the main roles in the company's repertoire, from the Sugar Plum Fairy to Coppelia in Swan Lake. Suzanne says she loves them all, but she does have a favorite.
Probably my absolute favorite right now has to just be anything from Swan Lake. Just ever since I was a little girl, that was my favorite ballet, so to be dancing it is sort of like, I really made it.
Ballet director Alan Fields says Suzanne has more than made it. With her incredible talent, he says she could dance virtually anywhere.
I think Suzanne's probably in the top 10% of American ballerinas, and I'm fortunate to have someone like Suzanne here.
At 29, Suzanne has taught and performed with the Duluth-based Minnesota Ballet for 10 years. With her grace, agility, and true talent, she has become the backbone of this company. It's prima ballerina. Suzanne says she has no plans to leave the Minnesota Ballet. She has put down roots in Duluth, buying a cozy little home in Chester Park. It's here that she spends time with friends, unwinding after a busy day of being on her toes.
I feel very comfortable here. It's a beautiful city. I love the people. Everyone's so nice. I've even grown to really like the snow.
Suzanne's talent has been recognized nationally. She recently won a prestigious McKnight Artist Fellowship, a monetary award that will allow her to do some extended training with the New York City Ballet and the American Ballet Theater.
Fondue, releve. Fondue, releve.
Suzanne is in training right now for the Nutcracker, where she'll once again dance the lead role. She says she never takes a role for granted and tries to make it better each time she dances. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Pit Row, the view is almost as spectacular as the racetrack.
It's an incredible market for our sponsors to display and showcase their products, and obviously as much as this sport is about racing, it's also about marketing.
Marketing and money, millions of dollars. Hundreds of trailers are lined up row by row, the average cost $8,000. Plus a truck to pull it, that'll run between $15,000 and $25,000. The typical price tag of a new racing machine, about $7,500, and times that number by 1,000 racers, some with more than one. And the better you get at racing, the bigger and more expensive the equipment gets.
I think it'll continue to grow with the TV coverage, professionalism, the size of the rigs, the size of the attendance.
If we didn't have the sponsors, we wouldn't be racing.
The more sponsors, the more money. The more money, the bigger the stuff. Professional drivers get trailers like this. Price tag, $300,000. Plus factory machines, $20,000. Tools, $5,000. Plus thousands more in gear. Also included in the professional package, a mechanical crew.
We pretty much have to just get on and ride. I mean, it makes it a lot easier for the drivers and just to concentrate on racing and trying to win. Yep, we got 2 mechanics. We got Steve Shearing. Then we got another guy also.
The last train to roll out of Duluth was in 1985, but a new law passed by the legislature has many revisiting the idea of a new Amtrak route to the cities.
Well, quite simply, over the last 15 years, a great deal has changed. We have a tremendous gaming business that generates a great deal of activity in the Hinckley and Duluth area. We also have the city of Duluth who's done a tremendous job at developing tourism.
A train with very few lines and minimal service is estimated to cost between $40 and $50 million, and you can triple that price for multiple trains at higher speeds. Those factors are all being considered in a feasibility study. The Railroad Advisory Board will have 2 more meetings like this and hopes to have a completed study for the legislature by a February deadline. If lawmakers like what they see, more studies will be done before dollars are actually handed out to build the system. In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
we work and live in this area, and our people work there, and we feel like we have a safe facility. We've taken numerous measures to ensure that the facility is safe.
Private sector friendly, sorry I'm always true. I'm not proud of it.
Because of some needs within the department. As a result of that, we invited a police officer from the state of Washington, city of Seattle.
Like you said, there's so many though. You know, I mean, this one, it's helpful, but there's so many. You just have to be careful, I think, all the time.
And this is a real dynamite program that wouldn't be possible without that facet, I'm sure. We need these people to know that there's a clear line that they may not cross, and with your help we can watch them and make sure that doesn't happen.
I was hurting really, really bad, and I could hear the boys around me, you know, tossing little pebbles at the bear and shouting at it, but he wouldn't go away. My dad ran up on the bear and picked up a big boulder and chucked it at the bear and was able to scare it up a tree.
No, I don't. Simply because of the incompetency at the scene, I don't think they could have gotten together to do it.
Older adults in today's world are usually Depression era adults where they're very proud, and rather than reach out for help, they isolate. Their family members are passing away, their good friends are passing away, and they tend to isolate anyway than reach out. So it's more important in that age group for those kinds of reasons.
On the site-specific issue, but I think what
Brian Frederickson was alluding to is that at this point, this area located on the in an area where we have existing utilities. I was just as concerned as everybody else that we needed to prove that we were going to be a responsible developer. We were going to be the responsible entity that was going to create an environmentally sound recreational facility that would be year-round.
If a golf course is built on this site, the impacts to the old growth forest will be devastating and irreversible, and we recommend that environmental impact statement should be completed.
The long skid marks lead to a frightening accident. A huge tanker twisted in a mangled mess. State troopers say the truck was headed north on Highway 33, but the driver probably wasn't ready for the sharp curve and slower recommended speed, leading onto Highway 53.
The truck entered the curve. Preliminary results, probably at a speed that was too quick for the curve, lost control, slipped over and slid down to the location you can see it at right now.
The tanker was carrying 5,600 gallons of diesel fuel oil, heating fuel on its way to Babbitt schools. Some of the fuel spilled in the accident, leaving crews a sticky mess to clean up. Despite the ravaged tractor trailer, the driver luckily suffered just some cuts and bumps. Troopers say this accident is a grim reminder to follow the signs and slow down in time.
This particular driver hadn't driven this route before, so was a little more unfamiliar with the roads, but you just have to pay attention to those signs. The recommendations are out there for a reason.
Especially at this intersection, troopers say there have been 3 major truck accidents there in just the last month. Near Twig, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
A short time ago, an individual was interviewed at the Duluth Police Headquarters and has provided us with some information that give us probable cause to believe he was involved in the death. The individual has been transported to the St. Louis County Jail.
There's no specific threat at this airport or any other airport in the nation, but in general, with world events going on, there's a feeling that now is the time to be extra vigilant.
Did you accept any items from strangers today?
That means heightened security, more uniformed officers, and increased enforcement in front of terminal buildings.
We also ask that you have your government-issue photo ID out and available for the agent along with your ticket.
Some of those uniforms may be a little unconventional, but 'tis the season. At the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, security officials say they are redoubling their efforts. Direct orders from the FAA handed down yesterday. And for travelers, that means precautions when packing and parking.
We ask the people, please do not park your car unattended. If it's unattended, we tag it, which is $40. We will also tow it, which is $100.
Although it shouldn't take longer to actually go through security checks, airport authorities say holiday crowds mean longer lines. More bags checked, tickets stamped, and in the end, they hope more customers satisfied to be on their way home for the holidays.
This is kind of nice.
Right. Okay.
I'm on my way.
All right.
You know, we would say, oh, I am really tired, or I am very tired. How are you okay, tengo mucho sueño. Okay, I have much tiredness.
48-year-old Michelle Keene is back doing what she loves, teaching Spanish. But 8 years ago, after she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, Michelle didn't know if she would even be able to walk.
I was just very, very active, playing racquetball 3 or 4 times a week, and everything just really stopped. I could barely walk a block, just walk.
But through medication, therapy, and sheer determination, Michelle was able to get her life back.
I blade, I ride my bike, I walk, I don't jog, I snowshoe, cross-country ski, I can work normally. Because it was affecting my work, affecting whether I could type or not, everything.
Michelle also credits friends and family for helping her break through this disease. Marathon runner and friend Chris Davis ran the Honolulu Marathon on behalf of Michelle.
I think it's something every once in a while we can all feel an ache and pain and say, jokingly maybe, oh, that's my arthritis kicking in. But for some people that is a very real issue and something they deal with.
Well, I would suggest if you don't have that built-in support of family and friends, there are wonderful support groups, and I would, really encourage people to join a support group because you can't do it on your own.
We should also point out the medication that worked for Michelle did not work for other patients. Doctors say the best way to beat rheumatoid arthritis is to catch it early.
Lady that was staying there at the time had told us that a candle had been lit and got knocked over.
I think it's good for the kids.
I think it's better because if you don't get a lot of stuff for Christmas, you get more right now.
Yeah.
Just
just for being here, having fun.
Would the bone fragments on the Moose Lake property be Katie Poyer's? Yes.
After intense marathon negotiations between his client, Carleton County, and federal prosecutors, Rodney Bodine told reporters Blum had confessed to killing Katie Poyer. Under the plea agreement, Blum would plead guilty to first-degree murder and federal weapons violations. In exchange, he'd be allowed to serve both sentences in a North Dakota prison. Bodine would not detail how Blum said he killed the Barnum native, but indicated authorities would no longer search for the teen's body.
Mr. Blum made this statement out of his feelings for the Poyer family and certainly out of the feelings for his own family. He wanted to get the matter behind him. As a parent, I certainly think morally he did the right thing. As an attorney, that isn't what I would have advised him to do.
When it was released, we learned the 56-page confession goes into great detail of how Blum kidnapped Poyer from a Moose Lake gas station. In it, he describes how he took her to his property, strangled her, and then burned her body in a fire pit.
The news wasn't what we wanted, but in the beginning, I asked God to bring her home no matter what, and we got her home.
Blum's admission brought closure for Katie's family and the hundreds of people who had searched in vain to find her, but it would be short-lived. Despite the agreement and a grand jury indictment, on September 16th, Blum declined to plead guilty until DNA analysis on bone fragments could be analyzed. The feds called the deal off, Blum withdrew his confession, and the ironclad case against him began to fragment just days before Katie's funeral.
How a little runt like that could cause so much problem. That's why I look at him. He's not a man, somebody that can do that.
Now, little by little, authorities have begun to regain what they'd lost. A federal jury has found Blum guilty of felony weapons violations, and now word today his confession can be used against Blum at his murder trial.
This is the sound we associate with getting online, connecting to the internet. Now it could be the sound of saving big money. Millions are saying goodbye to long-distance phone charges and logging on to dialpad.com, a website that offers free long-distance calls anytime, anywhere in the U.S., and to anyone who owns a telephone. It's a dream come true for anyone with friends and family out of the area.
Lots of long-distance phone calls, put in lots of money into the bills.
And what could this do to those bills?
Eliminate them. Just virtually take care of them where I wouldn't have a bill anymore, which would be nice.
The best part is this is just as simple as it sounds. Log on to Dialpad's website, fill out the user registration form, and you're ready for free phone calls. You do need a computer with internet access and a microphone to take advantage of the deal, but there must be another catch, right? Well, we turn to a computer expert for the answer. Jackie Koharski says the service is free because of the information you provide about yourself, your address, telephone number, and a list of your interests.
That means that you will be getting junk mail and unsolicited email or spam from anybody that they choose to sell their list to.
So you think you're getting this great free phone call, but you are actually paying a price, right?
Absolutely. And that's exactly how Most sites are doing that these days. A lot of sites are going towards that type of advertising and that type of way of earning money. They collect your information, they collect your personal data, and then they sell it to somebody else, and in return you get a free service.
If you don't want personal information about yourself going out to marketing firms, this site may not be for you. But for paying the price of receiving more of the same junk mail you already get, you can save substantial money on your phone bill. I tried the service today for the first time.
Hello, Dad?
Yeah, I'm here.
Registration took about 5 minutes, and I called my parents long distance. One other small catch, though. If the person you're calling also happens to be on the internet, you may hear this. In Duluth, Jason Rice, News 6.
So I would urge those people to go see their family physician on an early basis so that the influenza can be treated and hopefully stave off complications of the flu.
We have Carol here as our CEO of our 64% of net profits of the drug manufacturers.
We're going to be holding a rally the end of February, beginning of March at the state capitol to show legislators how how many people are concerned about this issue, and that is a real issue, and we would like to do something about it.
So I'm not saying that people in Arizona.
And I knew quite a few people that said that they wouldn't take their drugs. They'd make them last longer because they couldn't afford what they were paying out for drugs.